I don't speak the language. Could you teach me?
Spent my whole life looking for love. Somebody told me attention is one hell of a drug. Got me fighting my intentions when we cutting the rug. Love the way you compliment me, fell in love with the love, man. Hey, this shit fucking me up. Every time that I see you, feel like I'm catching a buzz. Back when I was a shorty, I didn't know what it was. I tried to fight all the feelings, but I was catching a buzz. Like, nah, baby, we don't break dance, but I make bands, and I shake a great hand.
What up, though, everybody? Welcome back to the Loft 313. I'm your host, Felix, a.k.a. Felix the Don, a.k.a. Top 2 and Not 2. We back with another episode, man. We appreciate everybody that's been rocking with us. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe button, and turn on your notifications. We coming back every other week. Man, we got a lot of big shit in store for the show. So, without further ado, let's bring our guest on today, man. Today we got my man, Mikey. What's up, Mikey?
What's happening? Mikey Eckstein, man. It's a pleasure to be here kicking it with you.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate you coming through. So Mikey, man, we were talking a little bit ago. We've never actually sat down and chopped it up, but we've been in a lot of the same spaces. I feel like every time I'm somewhere where there's somebody of some type of importance there, or if it's some type of show or event going on in the city, I always see you there. Yeah. So that's just something that I've always peeped is like, you know, I don't know this guy. We gonna you know, brush elbows at one point or another, pause. But you know, I definitely see you in the correct spaces. So I definitely appreciate you taking your time out to come and chop it up with me today.
Yeah, for sure. I've been doing this for a long time, managing artists, producing concerts, films, kind of anything entertainment related. It's been 26 years now that I've been doing this. So, I've been around, and I've always been a magnet to the city. Because as I kept growing, my relationships, grew from. I grew up in Ann Arbor as the only child. My parents, my mom answered the phones of the Bank of Ann Arbor. My pops was like an operations guy at Domino's Pizza, so it wasn't like, they had some crazy clout or anything like that. They were just hella supportive. I was the only child too, and like I got the name Mikey early on because, Ann Arbor was pretty diverse, especially back then. So like I got along with everybody. The white kids, the black kids, the Asian kids, the Muslim kids, the jocks, the freaks, the whatever. My parents were super cool, and like the diversity and the racial stuff I didn't see. I just got along with everybody, and then I started working young. Like I got a paper route when I was 9 years old, and as soon as I turned 14, I got a job at McDonald's. Then I worked at got a job at this party store downtown in the heart of downtown Ann Arbor. I used to, hang out, skateboard, and holler at girls, all that shit.
Yeah.
And then so I always had that little hustle in me. And then right out of high school, I was friends with the band in high school. And I was like, right when we got out, I was like, damn, you guys are actually really good. And they were like, yeah, we were just talking, like, we wanted to see if you could use some of your older connections and book us into some bars or some stuff. I'm like, all right, bet. I'm up for the challenge. Let me see what I could do. Cool. I never really thought about it at that point, what I really wanted to do. And then, I started calling around, finally got a couple gigs, and I was called, back then it was before, way before social media and stuff. I'm talking like 97, 98. And, I was just getting all the magazines and calling like the music editors and everything. And they're like, yo, yeah, I'm like, can you write about my band? And they're like, yeah, send us a press kit. I'm like, all right, cool. What the hell's a press kit? I'll figure it out. I'll just tell them, yeah, and then figure it out. And then quickly we blew up in Ann Arbor. And like, I'm like, all right, we sold out everywhere in Ann Arbor. I'm like, all right, what's next? So, I went to St. Andrews, like, basically, like, knocked on the door. It was like, yo, can I hand out some flyers or some shit? By the way, here's my people's tape or CD or whatever it was. And then the manager was like a mentor. And the band that I managed, they were called Funktelligence. So imagine, like, if the Roots and George Clinton had a baby.
Okay.
Right? So... and we were hard-headed. We were like, man, we could do this on our own. We don't need a producer. We don't need a label. You know, wish I, you know, but that's how I learned. You know, you learn from your mistakes and you know all that shit. So anyhow, the manager at the time in St. Andrews kind of became like a mentor to me. His name was Mike D. Shout out to him. So one night he was like, "Hey, there was like a Ghostface Killer show," and he was like, "Hey man, can you do me a big favor? Can you go pick up Ghostface?" I'm like, "Oh yeah," like I go pick up Face, you know. So then he's like, you know, usually we pay people to do it. It's called the runner, blah blah. So then I started, you know, being a runner for shows when I was still a teenager, and then I started producing shows for St. Andrews, Clutch Cargo, Fillmore, at 20 years old, which. The company was called Ritual then. It ultimately became Live Nation. I was producing shows at 20 years old. Like, I was running the shit. Like, I was cutting the checks, settling with the artists, scheduling the stagehands, the lighting guys, like, you know, advancing the shows with the tour managers, what time to load in. And if there was alcohol that was on the rider that wasn't in-house, like, I couldn't even go buy it legally. So I'd have to hire a runner. But, you know, and then... You know, D12 came out with Devil's Night with their first album. And in the meantime, I was still, you know, working with Funkelligence, and we were starting to tour around. We were pairing up with other bands in Chicago, New York, Louisville, Cincy, Buffalo, Manhattan, like all that. So I was kind of going out with them. And then producing shows for Live Nation, Ritual at the time. So I kind of had a little bit of experience on both sides. So D12, we did their album release show, and like it was crazy. And then they were going on tour right after that, and then you know I got the tour managing job with them. And the funny thing is, the first question I got asked was, "What size vest do I wear?" And I'm not talking about Tommy Hilfiger vest. And also, like we wore vests. Not because it was cute and cool. We didn't have Supreme and Louis V on our shit and wearing it outside our clothes. Like, shit was crazy back then. I mean, it's crazy now. Hip hop is just the nature of it.
Yeah, it's the nature of it. It's,
you know,
it's
but
crazy.
When you think about like the shady records, right? Like even just going back with the roster, like Bugs got killed on Belle Isle just as they were blowing up. Proof's dead. Shout out to my man Proof. It's been 18 years. Today since he passed away.
R.I.P. to Proof, man.
Yeah, man, I can get back to him in a minute. But like, you know, OB still got a bullet in his head. 50 got shot 9 times. M got his 2 gun charges. Bizarre's wife got shot at a gas station. Nani got shot. Like, she was like, for real, you know? So, you know, I started tour managing D12 and then managing a couple other artists. I was managing a rapper named Paradigm, who ended up becoming Kid Rock's DJ. So I was in and out of tours with Kid Rock and Eminem, you know, from like the time I was like 21 to 27 and then producing shows here.
That's crazy.
And then shortly, you know, after, you know, Trick had a song called My Name is Trick that started popping on the radio.
My name is Trick.
Yeah.
I'm from the ghetto. Yeah, that's my shit.
I fucks with hip-hop, R&B.
Not heavy metal.
So my mom was actually in that video.
Word.
She was the old lady calling the cops on them having a good old time. So and at that same time, like Trick, he was that shit. It was a whole different Trick than it is in 2024. And like Trick and the Goon Squad was no joke. And like I seen it firsthand. But prior to that, I knew the reputation and all of that. And there was a DVD called Street Life that came out. And that shit was crazy. It was like, you know, they showed the whole video of Trick and Trick Daddy, like, you know, where Trick's breaking down the whole story. And then they, you know, whooped the shit out of Trick Daddy at Legends. And there's like 100 Goon Squad cats, and you know, so and then I had seen that shit in action too. So Proof was like, "Yo, hey Mikey, put Trick on all my shows that you have for me." And I'm like, "All right, cool, whatever." And then I remember one night at St. Andrews, Trick was like, "Hey man, hey Proof, who's getting you all these shows? Who's doing all this shit?" And I'm like, trying to hide in the corner, like, "Oh shit, man." You know, he's like, "Hey nephew, I need to holler at you," you know, whoop-de-whoop. And I'm like, fuck, all right, like, I don't want to say no to this dude, but I don't want to do some, like, crazy contract and shit goes sideways. We don't flow together or whatever. But I'm always a firm believer too. Like, if you don't want to work with me and I don't want to work with you, there should be nothing holding us back. So I'm good with handshake deals in general for a lot of things. Obviously not everything, but like, so I was like, yo, I met with Trick and his little brother Diesel. Shout out to Diesel, who's blowing up in the acting world right now. That's my little brother. But so we negotiated. We agreed on like a management commission. And we shook hands. I said, let's give it 3 months and see how it goes. 23 years later, we ain't never argued about money. He is literally Uncle Trick to my kids. I mean, he could pulls up in the birthday parties and all that. We've done so many amazing things, good, bad, and ugly together. So that's kind of like my introduction into the industry.
Okay. It's a nice
early years.
Yeah, crazy story too. Just like, man, opportunity. When opportunity come knocking and just taking that chance. I feel like a lot of people can take from that story. Cause I feel like I live my life that way too. Just whenever opportunity come, I don't shy away. Even if I don't 100% know what I'm doing, we can figure it out.
You gotta be, insight in mind is real. Like, if you don't go out and you're not seen or you're not, ain't shit gonna happen.
No,
like you
sure.
got, it's funny. I was talking. I'm not gonna give my man's name, but he's an old school cat with a very major radio station. But he was like, more business got done at Studio 54 doing cocaine in the bathroom with people than in any boardrooms. But like, that's true. Like, you start your business and you get the ideas and you get everything flowing when you're out, when you're networking, when you're around. You get, the energy's there, the vibes there, a lot more so than when you go, okay, let's go meet, and you meet at an office and it's just all stiff and tense and tired from whatever. You got other shit going on, but when you start, chopping it up, and then you're like, hey, my man can do this, or that's a great way, to really start the foundation for whatever endeavor you're gonna go in. And be around and be seen, but you got to follow through. If you say you're going to do something, do it. The other thing is like, when I was stepping into the industry, like Kid Rock and Eminem were really just blowing up.
Yeah.
And I got, tight with their camps, but people are like, how long did you know them before? I'm like, I didn't. And well, how'd you get in? I said, you know what? Because I was around, and I never asked those motherfuckers for anything. Like, not an autograph, not whatever. I let them, they started asking, like, how did you get that? Or who did that? And, let them ask about me, let me, because everybody's trying to get something from them.
Yeah.
So I just did me and, worked as hard as I could and smart and just, like I said, man, following up, following through, and putting people in touch, and just having a good attitude will get you far. Trust me, I've had my I fucked up, but that's that's how you learn, is from messing up. Like, I was never good in school, like with books and all that shit. Like, I wanted to learn by fucking up. Like, or that's the best way, because you're like, I won't do that again.
Exactly.
Or like, I won't do it that way. Or, okay, like, that's the best way to learn, is like, not intentionally messing up, but like, you realize like, oh shit, okay, that didn't work. So throughout that period, I started just kind of doing more things. Like, I started booking, like halftime acts for the Pistons. I started doing stuff with the Lions, the Tigers, the Red Wings. Then we had the big film boom here. So I was kind of like the Detroit guy, me and a couple other guys, like, when all these movies were here, like, we were kind of like the Detroit producers or fixers, or like, we were able to help, you name it, locations, casting, with the politician side of, pushing permits through, So it just kind of like, I was always a staple here. I could go to New York, or could go to LA or whatever, but I wouldn't be able to do what I could do here.
Exactly. Your roots are here.
Yeah. And then, bringing more, attention to the city, bringing people together, And just seeing things, there's nothing better than, bringing people together and seeing something amazing blossom out of that.
No, 100%. I feel like inclusivity and collaboration is super important in whatever industry you're in, man. You need different perspectives around you.
100%.
And just to build something great, like you said. I've always preached that. That's actually in the cannabis industry, in my job, we got this thing called the 5 C's. One of the 5 C's is collaboration. So that's something we preach to even the staff, like making sure that we collaborative with them and they're collaborative with us, keeping the egos out of the room and just making sure everybody has the room to free flow their ideas so we can get to, some type of common ground into a solution.
Yeah, 100%. And you got to add, you can't, you don't know it all. Just like going back to when I said, you can say, yeah, I'll send a press kit, but then you figure it out or you find somebody that knows how. You can't, but you have to do that. If you say, yeah, you got to figure it out. No matter who it is, whether they not, you got to. And the best thing is ask for help. I'm the first one to, if I don't know, I'll bring in help. I'll call people for help or you got to, work together. Everybody has their specialty and you always learn. I learn something new every day and you don't know everything. You'll never know everything. You always got to have an open mind that you're always learning something. And even if it's something that you've done 1,000,000 times, that 1,000,001 time is oh shit, I never, so you got to keep that open mind. You got to listen to other people. You can't walk into a room, thinking you above anybody. I always set the bar this high and let the motherfuckers drop it themselves. I'm going to give you that highest bar. You can open your mouth and even raise it a little higher, or you can drop that shit real quick.
100%.
You got to give everybody, you never know who you're talking to or who's whatever. You got to give everybody that high respect. And then, the diversity, man, there's nothing better than having different perspectives and different opinions and people's different experiences, I have a podcast. It's called Talkish. It's on iHeartRadio. Check us out.
Check them out, man.
So we originally started, it was me, Chuck Bennett, and Josh Landon from Fox 2. Chuck's the fashion guru from Detroit. He's a socialite, little older gentleman. Josh is the media guy. And then our formula was as Talkish. One episode we had Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist. We had Jody Haddad, the owner of Legends, the strip club. And then we had Miss Teen Michigan. But that shit worked. It was Detroit. It was Michigan. It was So we stopped doing it after about 65 episodes. And then this past summer, Chuck was like, hey, man, let's get the podcast going. I'm like, all right. So, it took me a minute to get excited about it. And then I have a new partnership with the owners of the Cambria Hotel, which is amazing. There's so much there. And we opened a new restaurant called Chibo, which is amazing. And they have this private dining room in there that you can see out. So I was thinking dang, if we could maybe do it in there. Then another friend of ours was like, hey, you should, Josh didn't want to do the podcast anymore. So somebody was like, you should get a woman. Get you, Chuck, and I'm like, all right, I'm open to whatever. So I was like, let me hit up a girl, Randy Rosario. And I know she's,
I know Randy.
Shout out to Randy.
She's
got a lot going on. So I was like, let me see what Mama's got going on. She, boom, boom. I talked to her husband and her. She's like, all right, bet. So we got that. We did our first photo shoot, and she was like, hey, Mikey. She's like, now Marielle Lou, my girl Marielle, if we could bring her in, think about the dynamic. It's me, you, Chuck. It's the white boy from the blackest city. You got 2 beautiful girls now. I'm married as fuck. I'm all, and that's known. But Marielle's got her. She keeps whatever she does is private. Chuck's got his. I'm like, I'm with it. Let's go. So, it's dope. It's dope and keeping that. Because trust me, we have whole different perspectives, and, and it's great. But it works, and that's what makes the world go round. Shit, if we all liked and did the same stuff,
I feel you.
It would just be it's fun. It's fun to learn different stuff. you know, and give. And I was just talking to this lady, this woman the other night, and she was like, we were talking about relationships, and she was like, you know, you have your own shows that you watch, and then, you know, I have my own shows or whatever. And I'm just speaking in any relationship. She's like, but then ultimately you start kind of watching your shows, or watching the shows together. Like,
yes, that's
you
how
know,
it always ends up happening.
I've done that. I'm like, I never watched no Love and Hip Hops or something, you know, like Love, Marriage, Detroit or whatever. Now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, when is that on? It's like, you know, so you just kind of going back to, like I said, keep an open mind, you know.
Keeping an open mind is important.
Keep an open mind and you know, learn different stuff, experience different stuff too.
I feel you.
You know, like, you know, I feel like hip hop cats should go to different stuff, and go to a country festival or something, or just go to experience different things. You know?
Yeah. I feel like the same way, like you said, just doing something different. Like, I'm an artist too, and I feel like none of my songs sound the same. Like, you know, I got hip hop records, I've done rock records, pop, EDM, all reggaeton. So I try to kind of mix it up because, you know, when I'm listening to music, that's what's happening in my headphones all day, you know? So it's hard for me to stick to just one thing, you know, because there's so much different shit out here.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Got to get out here and experience different shit, you know, travel, listen to different music, talk to somebody that you wouldn't usually talk to. You might learn something.
Yeah.
So.
You know, like my son, shout out to my son. He's just turned 13, but he's all in the mix. He's in the game. Like, you know, like Trick actually kind of shifted his formula with his radio stations, and he's like, with his radio station on Eminem Shade 45, because traditionally for the last like 8 or 9 years, like it was like his whole family, like, but his family's starting to blow up and doing their own thing. So he's starting to interview artists now, which he's never really done. And so we just interviewed Scarface the other day, and like, you know, I'm like, let's get, you know, some of these younger cats that are the Skillet babies and Sada babies and everybody. I mean, Detroit's on the map. But he's like, all right, bet I'm gonna have you we gotta have little Mikey help me with some of the questions. You know, I know what to ask the you know, the street shit and the da-da-da, but I need to know some of that, you know. So shout out to my little guy. My son was telling me earlier, he was like, hey man, you know, Jadakiss was just with Stephen A. Smith. Like he should be telling me shit 100 times a day, which is dope. It's good to know. And I was like, man, I wish, like, you know, I love how integrated now, and I believe it's a lot to do with social media and stuff, but everybody, sports and music, especially in the hip hop culture, is really just blended together.
Yeah.
And I wish like, cause I've been doing this a long time. You know, your hip hop's been around for 50 years, and I've been in it for the better part of the second half. You know, and I wish it would have integrated more, even, you know, just you know, like TV shows or whatever, like before then, because it's all the same culture.
It is all the same culture.
Every, you know, the cliche, every sports player wants to be a rapper, and every rapper wants to be a sports player.
Yeah.
You know, and I just wish that it wouldn't have taken so long in social media or whatever to realize that that shit goes hand in hand. You know, like sometimes you think like, damn, you know, if I could have, like, you know, but you know, we tried stuff like that, and it was hard for, like, you know, because the outlets weren't there, and it was hard for people to really take that big steps.
Yeah, I feel like rap culture is a lot more accepted now too. Like,
100%.
Yeah, like with not only the rap culture, but even the cannabis culture that's
yeah.
embedded in rap culture is more, like, it's more agreeable now in the sports space.
Yeah.
And it wasn't before. And I feel like that's been played a big part in it too.
Like I just saw, like, you know, the NBA, I think it was like about a year or so ago, they just, you know, cut out that from drug testing.
Yeah, NFL is getting
NFL.
there too. And the NBA did it. NFL's, I think they did it as well. Where so I want to backtrack a little bit. You know, we talked about a lot of your background and your history in the city. So I want to talk about like what was the first big show you put together? Let's start there. Because I know you've been doing it a long time. What's the first one that you remember that was like, okay, this shit is crazy?
That's a really good question. You know what? I remember with my band with Funktelligence, we came from the ground up, right? And once we started playing with some of our idols, like played with George Clinton at Hill Auditorium in Ann Arbor, which was incredible. We played with The Roots, and
Yeah, that's crazy.
and Ipsy. Then like we started doing some of the Michigan State fairs. Like we played with Casey and JoJo. Keep in mind that was back in the day.
Yeah.
And we were so geeked. We're like, and then Casey and JoJo was crackhead asses. But like, I remember they made us feel like this. They were like, we were about to sound check, and they were sound checking. Then the sound guy was like, okay, all right, local band up, and they was like, laughing at us. We're like, man, fuck them. Like, we was all geeked. But so starting like doing some stuff like that's what really was like got me like, okay, all right, I know what can be next.
Yeah, I feel you.
And then, just I mean, there's a few things like doing Big Sean show, like Sean's Camp coming to us. We did the Palace, like seeing Sean from the Majestic, the Magic Stick, to the Fillmore to like doing it at the Palace, sold out the Palace, then bringing him back and doing like DTE and like, things like that. And, of course, like being a part of like, Eminem and Kid Rock shows, stadium
crazy.
Shows, Jay-Z and M, like Rihanna and Emmett, that's crazy. Like those are dope things and historic. And, with M and overseas and stuff, I mean, it's just like, it's insane, and being a part of like, just, seeing artists, like at different levels, like, I mean, I remember seeing Eminem opening for Souls of Mischief when I was like 14 or 15 at Alvin's, and then talking to him about it later,
Yeah.
like, he's like, yeah, I got like $100, and then like, like the band Linkin Park, like I paid them $150 twice, and then the next time they came, it was 15 grand at Clutch Cargo. And the next time they came was 150 grand at Kobo. So just seeing like, a lot of artists at the smallest levels, like, my son would go through my pictures like, Dad, is that you and Kendrick Lamar? Like,
Yeah.
with no hair, Kendrick, like, like doing Kendrick at Royal Oak Music Theaters.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, I could go on and on and on, but it's great to see people grow,
Yeah, and you've been a part of that. That's what I know from like I said, watching you on social media and just being in the similar spaces. Like you always around the right people. Well, and being around people like that, what would you say is your craziest person that your favorite person that or have been around or have seen grow and blossom? Who would you say your favorite is?
Well, I don't know.
More from a fan perspective.
So like I like going back to like I loved Guns N' Roses, okay?
Okay.
So I'm gonna tell a funny story. So I loved Guns N' Roses. And Axl Rose is weird and is an introvert and doesn't go out, but he was just like, so Kid Rock we were at his house studio one night, he's like, hey Mikey, he's like, Axl's playing or Guns is playing in New York, and he wants me to come out for his last couple shows in the US for a while. And I'm like, all right, fuck you. Why you telling me? Like, he's like, I know you love, I got a seat on the jet if you want to roll. I'm like, bet. So, so I'm excited, right? So we're leaving for the airport early in the morning. And then Axl calls Kid Rock and he's like, hey, do you want to do a song with me or whatever? He's like, hell yeah. Like, so we get on the plane and like Rock's like excited. He's like, dog, I played with Run DMC with da-da-da, like, Led Zeppelin. He's like, this is Axl Rose. So see him excited is dope. And I had just established a relationship with Ice-T around that time too, which that's another one I'm super geeked out about. But when we go to New York, we're kicking it with Axl. And Axel's telling us how like when Ice-T really embraced him, and he's still like just in awe that Ice-T fucks with him. And I'm like, it's all full circle. You know, seeing that like circle of like excitement between people that I've looked up to and that I've that started coming up with, it was just like, it was dope, you know? Like all of my worlds kind of colliding together, like Ice-T and Guns N' Roses, Kid Rock, and like, you know, that type of thing is a rare thing to see, and it just, you just feel good about, you know? Yeah. Even like Trick, like, you know, seeing him connect with Ice-T and Ice-T and him like building a relationship. Even, you know, when Trick and Face did an interview the other day, which is actually airing tonight. I know this, but it's going to air tonight on Shade 45. That was dope. Like, and, you know, Trick being such a fan of Face, and then they became great, super tight at, you know, over the years. But like just seeing that chemistry, stuff like that, you know, like Eminem, like with LL Cool J, you know, like just seeing those type of things, like being like with Flav. I remember Big Sean called me. He was like, hey, you know, we're bowling. It was one of Sean. It was Proxy. It was one of his people. Like, and they're like, we got this bowling thing with, I'm doing this bowling thing downtown. And I'm like, I'm actually bowling with Flavor Flav in Mount Clemens right now. And he was like, yo, dude, Sean would love. So when I brought Flav down there, like Flav was so excited to meet him and vice versa. And, you know, that stuff's cool, you know.
Flavor Flav seems like a character.
He's a trip.
Funny as
he's
hell.
You know, he's a great individual, like great human being. I love him. And you know, the funny thing is so my son, he's all into the industry. He knows everything that's going on, even before I do now. I got a daughter who's 16. She doesn't give a shit, like flat out, like about anything. Like my old production manager, I just bring him to the show. I think my daughter was like 12. And Chris Brown was on the show, and my old production manager was Chris Brown's production manager. Actually, I think my daughter was like 11. And we were walking by the dressing room. He was like, oh, hey, Chris is here. He wants to meet you. I told him I got some special friends. My daughter was like, who? He was like, Chris Brown. She was like, I'm straight. They just made new brownies and catering. We got like 10 feet away. She's like, didn't he hit Rihanna? Or whatever. Like Drake came. It was crazy. Drake stood right by her, and she was on her phone. She was so annoyed because everybody was coming over, and she was like, she hates Drake to this day because like her space got invaded. So going back to Flavor Flav, like they had saw my kids had seen Flav at a picnic. Trick does this health nick on Belle Isle every year. It's like a vegan picnic, like a healthy thing for the kids, like bounce houses and all that. And Flav was there. And I think we did our podcast there, and my kids saw Flav there, and like a few weeks later or whatever, Trick had called me. He's like, "Hey man, you want to go bowling?" You know, I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You got the kids?" I'm like, "Yeah." Let me ask him. He's like, "I got some of the nieces and nephews, whatever, going," and he's like, "You know, Flav and so is going." I'm like, "All right." So I'm like, hey guys, you want to go bowling with Uncle Trick and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, who else is going? And then I was like, so-and-so. And I was like, and Flavor Flav's going. And my daughter, she just looked, she didn't even say nothing. She just started laughing. She picks up her phone. She's like, starting to call. She's like, my dad has this grown-ass man that wears sunglasses inside and a clock, a plastic clock everywhere. And he thinks I'm going to go in public. Yeah, right. Like, I'm like, oh my God. But then fast forward, she's seen like starting to see Flav. A couple years later, she's like, Dad, your friend Flavor Flav looks like he'd be fun to hang out with. But like, it's just funny seeing people's different, how people take care or don't care, you know.
Everybody's interest different. Yeah,
everybody's interest is
it's
different.
Stuff that we give a fuck about that other people just don't give a fuck about.
Yeah.
And I feel you. Because, I mean, I feel the same way. Sometimes somebody's real excited about some shit I don't give a fuck about, too. Mm-hmm. But depending on the person in the situation, you might have to act like you give a fuck.
Yeah, well, yeah. But then again, you know, like I said, going back to what I was saying earlier, you know, keep an open mind, and then you might, you know, you learn something or start liking something else, you know.
Exactly. Sometimes you try, you might not think you're gonna like it, but you just try it out. You never know what that perspective can do for you or how it can change you. You know, we're people of evolution. You know, we evolve. We continue
100%.
to evolve and soak in information. So I definitely feel that. So you said you you did a lot of things with Kid Rock, with Eminem. How is your relationship with them now? Do you still work with them?
You know, I still do. I still keep in touch with Rock actually. M kind of does his own thing, and you know,
I've heard how he moves very different. Than a lot of
yeah.
people.
He's got his core, folks, and here and there a little bit when he pops up and does stuff. But like he's kind of he's a very like enclosed kind of does his thing. Rock's always like shout out to Kid Rock. I know he's got a bad rap, but like he's really a good dude, and like I've seen him do a lot of good things for some hip hop cats. Like that's not known. I'm not gonna disclose anything, but like he just gets drunk and says some dumb shit. But he's a good dude. I was just at his crib. He's like, yeah, Kanye was just here. I'm like, wait, what? Kanye? Like, he's like, yeah, he was recording at my crib for a few days or whatever. I'm like, oh. Like
That's
recently,
random.
he was like, "Yeah, like
that's not random though for Kanye
well, yeah,
at all.
right,
Like
right,
Kanye,
right.
it's
Yeah.
like random shit you would think Kanye would be doing is the most Kanye shit in the world.
Yeah. But like I'm like, okay, I'm surprised. Well, they're pretty. Everybody's pretty chill about that stuff. But like, it's just cool. Like, just seeing different things, happen. Like, I became real cool with Gary, the singer of the Rascal Flatts. When Rock, I just went out and he introduced me to him. I'm like, look, I don't know shit about the Rascal Flatts. I know I'm gonna give you flowers because I know you guys sold a shit ton of albums and you guys sell a lot of tickets. But
Life is a Highway is a banger.
See, Life is a Highway. So I
That's a
FaceTimed him with
banger.
little Mikey. He's like, do you know any of our songs? He's like, you ever seen that movie Cars? He's like, Life is a Highway. I'm like, oh, okay, I know that record. But I'm like,
banger.
I was just real. Like, okay, I don't know shit. So I don't know shit about the Rascal Flatts. Except for y'all killing it.
I thought the nigga name was Rascal Flatts.
No, his name's Gary. And you know what? Like, here's the thing. That's my dog now. Like, right? Like, that's my boy. And you learn a lot. Like, I didn't know. So I'm like, okay, where are you from? He's like, Columbus, Ohio. And I'm like, so how the fuck did you end up down here? He tells me this whole story. Him and his, like, whatever, came down to Nashville. They started playing on the street. Then they started playing karaoke. Somehow Jamie Foxx's manager was at some bar, some shit, saw him, took him to L.A., then a record label wanted to sign him as a solo pop R&B artist. And then, he didn't end up doing it. But Jamie Foxx was like, man, fuck that. Come live with me. So he lived with Jamie Foxx for a year.
Bro, I've heard that story a lot, that Jamie Foxx, Ed Sheeran lived with Jamie Foxx before he got and he used to record there. And that's where he wrote his first album and then blew the fuck up.
And then blew up. I'm like, Rascal Flatts? Like, and there probably wouldn't be any Rascal Flatts if there wasn't Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
And then they ended up doing a song together. So again, keep an open fucking mind, man. Like, that's the shit too that I love hearing, like stuff like that. Like people don't think, like you think, oh, there's some country, whatever. Nah, man. Like, dude's got some soul, some sweat.
You feel me? And then country and soul go hand in hand,
for
too.
sure.
You got to embrace each other because you never know, man. Like, you could be more alike with somebody than you realize just because y'all come from, something that seems different. You feel me?
Right.
It's a lot of the same values embedded in those teachings and shit like that for the most part. If somebody's a good person, they're a good person no matter.
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck where they're from, what they sound like. It's all about, your morale and just your interests too. If you got similar interests with somebody, just because they talk and walk different don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is crazy. I hear that about Jamie Foxx a lot, man. Shout out Jamie Foxx. Yeah. He's got a crazy studio in his house too.
Yeah. He's
made
just
some
real
hits in there.
Yeah, like, opening, his doors and, people coming out of that, like, left field shit, like the Rascal Flatts, like Ed Sheeran, it's great. And like, and Gary's like, I need to get with Trick, and you got Polo Frost, I managed this rapper Polo Frost from Ipsy. Shout out Polo.
I know Polo. I think I might have met Polo once or twice. We did a show back in the day with damn, I'm drawing a blank. With who's Snap's manager?
Floss a lot?
Floss, yeah. We did a show with Floss and Snap in like 2018 or 19, I think. It's like a pool party thing. I think I met Polo that night, but I haven't seen him other than
he's one of my best friends. He'll be my boy for life. Like, I love Polo. And he seems to just make records that will just go viral. Like, randomly, you know, like in 2021, like, he had the 17th most played song on TikTok, most videos viewed. Drake was the 18th, number 18. You know, it's like crazy. But anyhow, so I had Polo. This is kind of funny. We went to LA. We had some like meetings. And then my boy Chris Chelios, the legendary hockey player, he lived in Malibu. He was like, "Hey man, I heard you're in LA. Come out to Malibu." I'm like, "Dog, we got shit to do. Like, I can't really just, you know." But then our schedule kind of opened up. We had a big gap. So I was like, "Hey, Polo," like profile him, like, "You probably didn't bring swimming trunks, did you?" He's like, "Nah, hell no." So I'm like, "We're going to Malibu." He's like, he didn't even know what Malibu was. He's like, "Sounds nice, you know, okay, whatever, you know." So we go to Malibu, and then we stopped like a Ross Dress for Less, and he bought like the cheapest pair of swimming trunks. Then when we pull into Malibu, all these nice cribs, like, you know, Polo's like, "Man, shit, I got these swimming trunks." So we ended up, John McEnroe was Chelios' next door neighbor, the tennis player. You know him. You know, he just popped into the community with him and Travis Scott and their little tit for tats on the shoes or whatever. So here, you know, John McEnroe's wife came out. I introduced her to Polo, and she was like, "Oh, that's so funny. Johnny's got those same shorts on, but in blue." And Polo's like, "Okay, cool." Like, he felt like super comfortable. But then, like, seeing him and John McEnroe just kicking it for hours, just like broing down, but two totally separate worlds, you know, like, that's dope. Like, that's what makes me like smile, you know?
100%.
Like, you know, you could be around the baddest bitches, make some, but just seeing stuff like that, like, and be like, damn, I kind of have something to do with that. Just little things that other, you know, just bridging people together is dope. And seeing the chemistry spark, or, you know.
100%. That's a superpower, being able to bring people together. Like-minded individuals who would not have known, like, maybe had they seen each other on the street, might not have ever had a conversation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's my bad to cut y'all.
Oh, no,
but that's
good.
my one. Like, people are like, you know, how or, you know, how are you kind of everywhere? You know, I'm like, look, I can't sing or model, so I got to just make shit happen.
Yeah, I feel you. Bridging people. And that's bringing me back to what I said at the beginning of the interview. You are everywhere. I see you everywhere. See you with your son everywhere. Your son gets to meet all these people. That shit has to be dope. I'm sure he's loving it. How many kids do you have?
I have two.
Okay, just your daughter and your son.
My son and my daughter. And yeah, my son, you know, he's loving it. And he's adding to it, you know, like, I'll tell a little funny story real quick. So like Skillet Baby, you know, a lot of artists, like, I fuck with a lot of these younger artists that are coming up, and a lot of different folks like Curtis and Crowd Freak and those guys. Like, I'm kind of big bro. Like, I'll help, you know, when I need to, you know, step in for advice or for whatever. So with Skillet, people hit me about doing a bigger show, and we were doing a walkthrough at the Masonic Temple, and my son was like, "Hey guys, just so you know that the day that you guys are talking about, there's a show right down the street." He's like, "It's a little bit of a different demographic, but it's T.I. and Gucci Mane and so." And we're like, "Oh." Everyone's like, "All right, well, good to know. Like, thanks." You know, and then I'm telling them how I could, you know, a little bit later on in the walkthrough, I'm like, you know, we could probably get this radio station to present it, and telling them how the presenting works. And my son's like, "I think they're already presenting that other show." So he's hip, you know, he's with it. He's a sponge. He knows what's going on and how, you know, like, he not just like, "Oh, I like that song, I like that artist." Like, most 12-year-olds are, you know. So he's really becoming like, you know, a little protege.
Yeah, that's what's up. Soaking up that information is important too, and like you said, being aware, that's a young man's game. I mean, obviously it pays you to be aware too, but like with social media and the way shit works now, that information is there and they got that shit down to a science. Like these kids know everything. Like I got a lot of like even me, I'm only 27. So I try to stay in the know as much as possible, but between, life, work, everything that you got going on.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to know everything. But I feel like my nieces, my nephews, little cousins and shit, like they always know what the fuck is going on about everything.
Oh man,
It's crazy.
And my son is like literally I'm at the grocery store and I get a text from him. OJ Simpson died today. That was the first, that I heard. Like
R.I.P. OJ, man.
Yeah, R.I.P. OJ.
Crazy.
I mean, Mr. C, Biggie's DJ just passed away. But yeah, I mean, having that, it's actually a big benefit to me is, having my son like putting me up on game, what's going on. Sure. Like he even told me, like, it was crazy. He was telling me the other day, he was like, Dad, this artist is playing at the Crowfoot. I can't believe he's doing the small room. Then, I don't know, a week later, my man calls me from the Crowfoot. He said, hey man, I got this artist. He's never even done a show before, but he's moving up to the, big room. And then I'm like, what's the artist's name? And what was it? Miles? So I take my son there because he wanted to meet him, And then I ended up leaving him there because my other friend who ran the venue, his son was there, like check-in VIP or whatever. And I shot a note. I said, how's my son doing? He's like, yeah, I'm going to write him a check. He stage managed the fuck out of the show tonight. And I'm like, oh man, all right, cool. So, but he's learning. Like he said some shit he wasn't supposed to say because he thought that the DJ that we hired knew what was going on. And he's, like I said, you learn by fucking up.
Yeah.
And, don't always say what somebody else said. You got to be careful, which,
yeah.
I mean, it was fine, but it's like you learn from, like that DJ didn't know this was my man's show, his first show ever. And that was all of his people. Whether the DJ told you that these kids paid to play or not, you don't just keep it quiet, you don't have to give your opinion on everything, okay?
No, that's what's up though. That's beautiful having them with you and being able to and being interested in what's going on too.
For sure.
I mean? That's got to be a blessing for sure.
For sure. I mean, I remember the first time I was like, okay, my man's growing up. He loved T Grizzly, and he met T Grizzly for the first time a couple years ago. We were at a Michigan football game, and I had sometimes for the bigger games we'll book a big DJ Ski. Shout out to DJ Ski. And a lot of times we'll have we had Commander Brown from Detroit Dust, T Grizzly people will pull up, it looks good on the sidelines and all that. So T's A&R was out, and then he was like, yeah, T's coming. And Mikey's like, can I go with you to go meet him? And then my son texts me, he's 11. He's like, yo, Dad, I'm in, what did he say? He was like, I'm in the family tailgate area with T and his people. Just letting you know. And I'm like, okay, but that was like a grown up text, and he's good. He's with people I know, but I'm like, oh my 11-year-old. Okay, that was the first he's
he's
right.
good. He can move in these crowds.
He knows what he's doing. He's with the right people, but letting Dad know. But it was just kind of funny seeing that text from your 11. You're like, yo, Dad, I'm with T and his people in the family. I'm like, okay, all right, But yeah, man, it's great. It's great to be able to have the longevity. In the city, in the community, and I'm like I said, I'm very behind the scenes, so but but it's fun.
Oh yeah, man. So we talked a little bit about it earlier. Today being the anniversary of Proof's death. Let's talk a little bit about that and what he meant to you, and because I know you knew Proof personally, so.
I knew Proof very, very well. So I was with him Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He got killed on a Monday. And that was Monday, April 11th, and it was Tiger's home opening day. And I remember I had a rock band that I managed that was playing on the marquee of the Fillmore. No band has ever played up there, but I was thinking of some creative shit. So as soon as the Tigers game got out, we had the PA and all that shit, and Proof was supposed to introduce them. Proof was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna introduce them when the crowd's coming out, again, mixing hip hop and rock, like doing, you know, thinking left field. But Proof had passed. I got like, it hit the news like within 3 hours. So he got killed like around 3 o'clock in the morning, and it hit the news like 5:30. Like, and he was with somebody else, and there was another person that was shot. And I remember like waking up, I think my ex-girlfriend called me. I'm like, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, and then somebody else called me. Then my mom called. My mom was freaking out because she was very tight with my parents were tight with Proof, and she heard that there was somebody else, and she knew how often we rolled together. She was just elated to hear my voice. But like Proof, man, if there would be no Eminem if there wasn't Proof. Like Proof gave M that, like, come on, man. Fuck, yeah, I don't care if you white. I don't care. You know what? Come on, man. When you come into this hip hop shot, you gonna keep battling. You know, he gave M that confidence. There would be no me and Trick. There would be a lot. Like, he was the glue to the community. Like, if there were problems with the people, he would resolve it. He had crazy tactics and shit. He was a wild man. Like, you know, I did a post like we fought together, we cried together. I've seen it all. He was a one of a kind, but he was literally the glue. Like, he was in the Goon Squad. Like, but he was a huge part of like the Backpack rap community, or the like, he just was everything. So I wouldn't be here, you know, if it wasn't for Proof. You know, he taught me a lot, and you know, he was a special. There'll never be anybody like him, but yeah, some crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Shout out Proof, RIP to the legend,
and shout out to his son, the Son, who's
he's going crazy, man.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop his latest video right here so you can check it out. The production on this man's videos are crazy. It's Nassan, right?
Nassan,
yeah. Bro, I didn't know he was Proof's son literally till maybe 30 minutes before you got here.
Word?
I just been following him randomly, and I noticed that Royce was showing him a lot of love, but he just popped up for me randomly just because I'm in the scene.
Yeah.
So, but I've always noticed how crazy his video production is, and it just makes sense that he's Proof's son now.
And I love that too, because the irony of Royce, you know, there was a time that the beef with Royce and Trick, Royce and D12 and them. I mean, Proof and Royce pulled pistols on each other like a showdown in Greektown. You know, like, so I love seeing that, man. Yeah. You know, and thank God, you know, Proof and Royce, that they buried the hatchet before Proof passed and stuff. But like, man, you know, you never know what could happen.
No,
like, you never know.
For sure.
So just seeing that, and then seeing the Son, like seeing that little man from a baby to doing his thing. You know, he was actually signed to Def Jam for a minute, and then now seeing him get a second, you know, win, it's beautiful, man.
Yeah,
you know, that's another thing is like, cats gotta, you know, just keep going, man. You know, if you know, don't let one, you know, don't get hot for a second and then get knocked down, man. Keep going.
Yeah, keep pushing.
Keep going, and you know, it'll come. Like, you know, just keep doing you.
Keep doing you. You gonna get 1 million. You can get 1 million no's. You just need one yes. You feel me? Just keep on pushing.
Yeah.
Whatever
I call
you
like,
believe in.
It's like trick or treating, man. You go to you go to 10 houses. Then there's a house 2 doors down. The lights kind of flicker and nobody else wants to go. You go to that bitch. You get a $20 bill or a full candy bar, but you pushed through and went. Nobody else did. You know, you gotta just go, keep going, man. It'll pop. But then you always learn from the thing is, you gotta look at the positives. If you have to go to jail for a minute, then you could take some positive out of that. You gotta it's perspective, how you look at things.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I tell my kids, like, you can get hit with the baseball in the eye, and you're gonna have a swollen eye for a few days, and it's gonna be sore as hell. Are you gonna stop living? You gonna sit and cry all day, not go out, or you gonna put some ice on that bitch and keep moving?
Keep moving. I feel you.
You gotta keep moving.
I think about that too, like that glass half full mentality. Like, just not being a victim to circumstances or to what's going on, you know, finding a positive in everything, even in the negative shit. You know? And the way you look at it in perspective is everything. You know, if you go into something with a negative perspective, you're probably going to be in a shitty mood the whole time you do it, and it's probably not going to be fun. So you got anything, you know, in the works that you want to talk about? What you got going on in the professional life right now?
Yeah. So like, you know, I said, you know, I've been kind of like a magnet to the city and kind of grew with my, you know, relationships. And, you know, I got a partnership with the Cambria Hotel. We're doing a lot of cool stuff there. There's a lot to offer there. We got the rooftop opening up. I partnered with Headlights Hip Hop.
Yeah, I fuck with Headlights. I had Nate holler back here for my Christmas episode.
Yeah,
that's my dog. He just told me there was something. You know, this will probably come out later, so I'm not giving too of an exclusive. But he said he's got something going on, which I'm assuming it probably has something to do with y'all. And there's gonna be something cool going on with the app. So he's promoting my new video on the app right now, which is dope.
Yeah, yeah, it's really great. It took me a minute to kind of understand what was going on with it, and I'm like, oh wow, this could be great. So
it could be, man. Like the potential for what he got going on is crazy.
Yeah, and
getting people like you behind him is what he needs.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. That's where I was like, okay, I can help with this, with what he's got, the foundation set. So all you hip hop artists, like go to Headlights, download the app. It's free. Like this season, the winner gets, you know, a track produced by Helluva. It's you know, cash distribution. It's incredible, and it keeps growing every season. And we're working with, you know, we're talking to some labels, some other major companies. It's some great things going on with that.
Yeah. Shout out Nate. Shout out the whole team at Headlights Hip Hop for sure.
Yeah, and we just brought in my girl DJ Tay Made as our official DJ, and shout out G Baby. And then I've got you know, the podcast that I talked about, Talkish, and then, you know, I got something that I really haven't talked about too much. I partnered with this. I'm partners in a new medical company, and I'll break this down real quick, but it's incredible. I met my now partner. His name's Dominic. Probably 18, 19 years ago on a couple movie sets that I got brought in to help produce and cast. A mutual friend of ours wrote and directed a couple movies. He was a VP of Morgan Stanley, and we connected there. Then we reconnected in 2014 on another event that I did, and then all of summer of 2022, my boy's like, hey man, you got to go see Dominic. He's got this new medical company. This new device is going to change the world. His office is in Wixom. I'm like, bro, what the fuck do I know about the medical world? And Wixom's far, you know? Yeah. So reluctantly, I'm like, all right, bet. So I go out, and he created this 10-minute non-invasive test that hits 30 valid clinical markers. So there's no needles, no blood work. And it's essentially early disease detection. We can tell years in advance if you're on your way to type 2 diabetes, neuropathy, heart disease. We could test how well you manage your mental stress. And you get your results printed out instantly. It's a 10-page comprehensive report. It's got, we got a patent on the health score. So it's 0 to 100, right? Like, and then all the 30 clinical markers are color coordinated. So everybody knows numbers and colors, right? You know what your score is. You might not know how you got there, but you know what 0 to 100 is. You also know that green is good and red is bad.
Exactly.
Right? So you're going to pay attention when it's yellow and orange and like, okay, what's that? And then you're really going to ask about if you got some red. Now, on top of that, we provide a 3-page wellness report, which is essentially like a roadmap. Like, right? If you got some issues going on, what do you do? So we also have a patent on the insulin resistance marker. Again, I'm learning a lot about the medical world. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you how I'm tying in everything, you know, with where I came from as well with the hip hop community and stuff. But we've got a patent on an insulin resistance marker, which insulin resistance is the precursor to type 2 diabetes. Mm-hmm. So, and if you're insulin resistant and the doctor tells you, you know, you need to lose 40, 50 pounds, blah, 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 quit drinking so much, Well, first of all, you know, diseases are asymptomatic. You don't start feeling it until it's almost too late. Until you're pumping insulin, or you're getting on the operating table, or dead. That's why so many people just die of a heart attack or stroke. But that shit takes years to manifest, and you don't know it. Now, going back to the insulin resistant marker, if you're insulin resistant, and the doctor tells you to go lose 30, 40, 50 pounds, and you start doing a half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour of cardio a day because you want to, get in shape, you're not burning fat. If you're insulin resistant and you're doing intense cardio, you're burning muscle, bone, brain, but you don't know, and the doctors don't know because they don't test for that. So it's it's crazy. So we tell you how you can work out. There's 3 boxes: light, moderately, vigorously. Then there's suggested supplements. It tells you where your weight should be, gain or lose, and then there's a full page of foods that you should be eating and shouldn't be eating due to what's going on in your body. So at first I'm like, this is incredible. And there's FDA clearances. It's not an idea, it's a proven concept. It's in the market. And I'm like, this needs to be in like the NFL, the NHL, the, blah, 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 like the underserved communities, like, because, and the Black and brown communities, the heart disease and neuropathy and type 2 diabetes is off the charts.
Yeah.
And there's not really, the road maps, like there's not really, it's very self-explanatory. So I've been a part of this company for 22 months and working on a lot of amazing things. And this is kind of the first, that I've really talked about it. But, we're going to bring in a lot of our artists and stuff to help promote it. I've brought in a lot of rappers. And I've seen scores amazing. I've seen scores very, very low. And I've helped save a lot of friends and colleagues' lives in the last, year and a half or so. So I'm excited to, be a part of this and to bring, to watch this, as the next chapter of my business and being able to incorporate, all my worlds in this as well. So
yeah, that's beautiful, man. That sounds crazy too, like, and super innovative. As somebody who like dealt with that, so I'm a type 1.5 diabetic. I found out.
So that's genetic.
Yeah. So I found so it's a genetic because my pancreas doesn't work as well as it should, and then on top of making unhealthy choices on top of that.
Yeah. So that's the word of the 1.5.
Yeah.
Because half of it is self-induced. That's the diet, the sugar.
And then last year when that happened, I didn't find out until like I said, just running, ripping, and always on the go. We're in Grand Rapids, opening a store, came back home, just was not feeling good, ended up going to the hospital. My sugar was at 690.
Dang. Yeah.
690. But since then, it's been now a year and a month. I've lost 110 pounds. I don't take any pills. I don't take any insulin, none of that shit. So,
yeah.
And just from changing, and it was crazy because they didn't really teach me shit. They just was like, watch your sugar intake. And they're like, it wasn't even that. They're like, watch how much sugar you're eating, and we're just going to give you insulin and pills. And then eventually, I'm like, well, I'm just going to stop eating sugar. So I just stopped eating sugar, stopped eating carbs as much, and just 100%. Changing my diet completely. And then the pills and the shit they was giving me was actually hurting me because I was already doing naturally what I needed to do to bring my sugar levels down. Mm-hmm. So it's like they just pump you full of drugs and just let you live your life. Like, I'm like a fucking anomaly to these doctors. They're like, how did you do it? I'm like, bro, I just fucking ate better. Like, I didn't need all them drugs y'all was trying to give me.
Exactly. So even when I first went in, I didn't even know what I was getting at. Like, I got my results. I just had them in my back seat. I picked up my kids from school. I went over it with my son, but I picked up my daughter, and she was a freshman, 14. She was like, oh, what's this? Within 60 seconds, she was like, she understood it. She was like, oh, I need to knock on wood. My dad's good. He's just fat. Right? But she understood what was going on. And then with that, like my score, like when I first went in, my health score was a 79. Then I cut out a bunch of shit. Okay. I cut out sugar. I don't drink any sugar drinks. I'll do like the Propel packs or like Crystal Light, no sugar. That's all I drink. Very rarely will I have a sip of like my Son's soda or something. Cut out a lot of other stuff. I cut out alcohol completely. That's multiple reasons, but like one of the reasons. And then I wanted to lose 25 more pounds before I got retested. And after, bringing in 100 people in meetings, so one day I was like, let me just get retested. And my score is at a 94 now. Like, so much has changed, but it's that conscious and subconscious. Like even from the first day of seeing that list, like going to the grocery store, my refrigerator looks way different and freezer. Yeah. But yeah, just knowing, and seeing it spelled out in front of you. The doctors will give you some blood results or whatever. You're like, what the
what the fuck is this?
Chinese,
they're like, just take
right?
these pills. You'll be all
so
right.
when you see it, you understand it. I mean, going back to, your score, green is good and red is bad. And then what to do to change those. And like I said, I didn't do, I started doing the 16-8 intermediate fasting.
Yeah.
And all of that, like, without me really going hard and like super crazy with it, my body's changed.
Yeah. And likewise, I didn't even implement the gym until I was down 65 pounds.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was like most of it is diet. You know what I mean?
Well,
and how you live your life and what time of the day you're eating, like not eating late at night before you go to bed, and all that shit plays a huge factor in it. Yeah. So I feel. So what is this program? What is it called?
So the company's called Next Medical. Okay.
I seen that in your bio. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep, I seen it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's called Next Medical. It is, it is in physician offices now, and we're working on, many partnerships with all kinds of, different, municipalities, with hospitals, with, schools, sports teams, and all of that. So it's great. So keep an eye out and ask your doctor about it. But yeah, check it out. NEX Next Medical, and it's a game changer. Like it's one more thing that just keeps me excited about continuing, to do this, and to be able to bring in my artists to help with it and help others, man. That's what life's really all about.
Man, that's beautiful. Well, man, I appreciate you coming to rock with us today. Is anybody else you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Man, I'll be here for 2 months, so shout out to everybody.
Shout out to everybody, man. Well, I'm your host, Felix the Don. This has been Mikey Eckstein, and on the Loft 313. We appreciate you, and we out.
Drunk driving and cautious, just street lights and darkness. Try to tell myself you gon' make it till tomorrow, but that just keeps stalking me. That just been 3 days and I ain't been sleeping. 6 months and I'm tired of dreaming. Everything that I say, I mean it. Call low dog when I need some help, or pray on me and fight these demons. Just ask God to look out for me. How long can I be myself? I don't wanna be no one else. I love her and this shit gon' kill me. Raging at the moon. We do everything that we wanna do, and none of that's gon' help me. I see you touching cloud now, baby blue jean. Parking lot of the hotel, what we gon' do now? She said, long as you won't bruise it. I got a man, but ain't trying to lose it. Topped off on the highway, jet cruising, driving and cautious. Just street lights and darkness. Try to tell myself you gon' make it till tomorrow, but that just keeps stalking me. That just been 3 days and I ain't been sleeping. 6 months and I'm tired of dreaming. Everything that I say, I mean it. Call low dog when I need some help, or pray on me and fight these demons. Just ask God to look out for me, 'cause death just been saying you finally caught up with me. You bet it all and you lost. That shit's about to get ugly. Drunk driving and cautious. Just street lights and darkness. Try to tell myself you gon' make it till tomorrow, but that just keeps stalking me. That just been